Have you ever wondered how your hometown came to be or the history surrounding your hometown? Well, I'm sure you have, and you may, as well as you may have not looked into it. I decided to look into it for my speech about the Ohio and Erie Canal. So today I'll be informing you about the history of the Ohio and Erie Canal and how it once ran through my hometown of Canal, Fulton. According to National Park Service, this canal not only brought changes throughout the places it ran, but it brought changes throughout the nation. I've completed research regarding the Ohio and Erie Canal, and I've also lived in the Canal Fulton area my whole life, and I've also walked trails where there used to be parts of the canal. And so I'll now briefly go over the creation of the canal, the importance of the canal back in its time, and in the history that remains today, especially in Canal Fulton. So I'd like to begin with when the canal started. So the nation was still very new to creating new ways of transportation, and so this was one of the first steps to advancing inland transportation. So according to the Canal Fulton Heritage Society, the Ohio and Erie Canal system would be fully complete by 1832 and fully operational by 1833. And this canal system would soon take the nation by storm. And, oh shoot. And now we've discussed when it was created. I would now like to go over the importance of it back in its time. So the canal was a gateway to creating more advanced systems of transportation like railroads, and it also increased the efficiency of transportation. So according to the National Park Service, prior to the completion of the Ohio and Erie Canal, Cleveland merchants would ship only 1,000 barrels of flour to Buffalo and to transport them eastwards. But after the canals were created, they started shipping 250,000 barrels at a time, and it would go to Cleveland and further to places like New York City and stuff. And that's a 24,900% increase, which is now unheard of. And according to Rotman 2023, the canal was used to move things like corn, wheat, lumber, and coal. It would go on, but in the 1850s, it would slowly start to slow down because railroads were starting to be put in place. And it would still be used from time to time. Steel factories would tap into it, and parts of it were just torn down from floods. So they would just slowly transition into railroads. And by the end of the 20th century, the National Park Service would create the Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and it would put pieces and parts of the canal under protection. And then that would be the end of the canal system. So now that we've discussed the importance of it back in its time, I'd now like to go over the history that still remains today, especially in Canal Fulton. So the Ohio and Erie Canal has greatly impacted the entire nation. There's still usage of canals today, the most famous one being the Panama Canal. And according to Rang in 2017, it's perhaps the most crucial piece of infrastructure that supports free-flowing trades of just different goods and services in the Western Hemisphere. And if it weren't for the Ohio and Erie canals like the Panama Canal may not have been around today. And the history of the canal still remains in Canal Fulton today, as there's a yearly festival named after it that happens every year, and it's 3 days out of the summer. And there's also the Old Canal Days Heritage House Museum, which has just a bunch of facts and details and pieces of the canal in the building. And then there's still Lock 4 as well, which is kind of just trails, and they have and then Lock 4 is a place where they would lower the boats down to the canal. I would now like to conclude my speech with these following statements. We have specifically covered the creation of the canal, the importance of it back in its time, and the history that still remains in Canal Fulton. And I hope that I've helped you have a better understanding of how they once worked and how important they really were back then. And I hope that I've made a connection to my hometown as well. And I hope that with your next visit to Canal Fulton or any of the surrounding trails, you'll have more of a backstory of like where the canals once thrived.